and I'm going to invite the industry panelists, Alan Merzon of Google and Randy Weinstein of Basis to join me on screen. Thank you. And we are going to I have a few questions for the group, but as I said before, you guys feel free to drop any comments or questions that you have into the Q&A box, and we will get to those as well. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining. When you answer the first question, could you also just do a quick intro of where kind of you sit in your roles, just so people have some familiarity with what you do with the various companies. And then my first question for you would be, how do you use or have you used ECAPI in your business? And tell us a little bit more about the use case if you have.
I can kick it off. Hi, I'm Alan. I'm the software engineering lead for our offline first-party data ingestion at Google. Right now, Google has about 19 different CAPIs across the myriad of advertising products that we offer. The majority of these tend to be focused on conversion ingestion to be able to drive campaign performance measurement and optimal bidding. And it tries to cover the cases where this can't be automatically driven by either an app SDK or a web tag. In the interim, we've been trying to build out our data manager API, which is doing its own ECAPIifying right now to try to unify all of these APIs and make it a little bit easier to use and broaden the use cases to cover more than just conversions, and then the full funnel events so that we can identify users at various points within the funnel.
I'll introduce myself. I'm the Senior Technical Product Manager, concentrating on identity, attribution, and privacy for Basis DSP. Basis DSP sits within the larger Basis platform that provides tools for omnichannel media workflow automation and data analytics, but I'm concentrating entirely on DSP. And I'd like to mirror what Alan said, that we do have a lot of integrations, and they vary in complexity from fully bespoke CAPIs that are generally one-off integrations, and sometimes we have legacy implementations that are more looking like old school postbacks, which work well, but they're not that extensible. They don't give as much rich metadata, and they're not as secure. So we're looking forward to definitely having a standardized CAPI where we can onboard more vendors more quickly and with richer metadata.
Awesome. You guys both started to touch on this, but I just want to make sure that we hammer the point home for the audience. So you guys both work in different parts of the advertising ecosystem where CAPIs already exist. You already have integrations live and running. So why standardize this now? What's the value of the standardization effort from your perspective?
From my perspective, we have integrations with a handful of vendors or partners in various spaces. So, for example, if you look at mobile measurement partners for dealing with app integrations, we have integrations with a few, but there's 15 or 16 that we would like to be integrated with. And you can then extend that for all different types of partners, be it footfall partners, brand lift, auto sales lift vendors, script lift in healthcare. If you look at third-party CAPI partners like Narrative or High Touch, there are so many vendors and partners that have rich event data that we would like to integrate with. And if we were to do all of these in a bespoke fashion, it would just be too much work. So having something like ECAPI that is somewhat standardized just makes it possible for us to have a broader offering.
Great.
And bringing in first-party data through events and conversions is just such a critical piece to optimizing your campaign performance. And we've heard so much feedback over the years of how difficult it is for customers to integrate with our 19 different APIs. some people even notably spending like over $1 million a year just to maintain Google's integration alone. So we know the value of reducing that API surface as much as possible. And if we think that this can enable more advertisers to unlock and bring more data, then it will be able to increase their campaign performance and increase their happiness on Google's platforms.
Right. And Randy, you started to lead us down this path, but can you give us, to both of you again, can we see how does the CAPI standard work for full funnel use cases? What events do you see supporting other than conversions? I guess I gave a couple examples, but just some of the use cases that you guys are seeing.
I feel like when you release an API, it's hard to predict how people will use it. Sometimes people can be very creative. My immediate thought is that this is going to be very useful for retargeting as well. But when you start allowing customers to wire up their own CDPs or CRM software, they could probably get quite creative. And when you combine that with our identity graph, um, there's going to be some creative usages for sure. But immediately, I'm definitely thinking retargeting is going to be a major use case.
Calling it CAPI and calling it the CAPI working group was one of the first hurdles that we overcame as we were developing the API, because we knew from the onset that we really wanted this to be an event-focused API rather than just a pure conversion-focused one. The full funnel is so important to be able to paint the fullest picture of what users are doing on your website. Google has Google Analytics, which is there to track the full user funnel journey, even without having to setting up conversions for each of those steps along the way. So just being able to standardize the ability to bring any type of event into any of the advertising platforms is just going to be critical to be able to witness that full funnel, be able to target users at different stages of the drop-off, and potentially find inefficiencies in your campaign bidding flows and maybe start bidding to different points within the funnel that you didn't even know was the right thing to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely think that's an important takeaway here. We've definitely seen, I think, a lot of discussion in the working group for both measurement and attribution use cases, as well as optimization use cases of sort of the understanding of these events. And so I think there's definitely a lot to learn and test when it comes to the use cases for some of the higher funnel events. And then the last question I have is, where do you think we'll see more innovation with CAPIs now that we have a standard? So a lot of the times we like to think of the standard as when something is sort of table stakes, like that's, it's standardizing the table stakes. So I guess we're saying that that's what we're putting out here today. And so where do we go from here? Where do we see the evolution happening from here?
I'm excited about seeing if there can be some standardization in native apps. And I'm also excited about retail media.
Okay.
So one thing that I could see in a future evolution of ECAPI is more privacy focused on the individual users. This is where we can bring in things like encryption of users' personal information as opposed to just hashing, which could unlock more data protective advertisers to be able to send this data and develop a mechanism to work with the advertising platforms in a way to know that we're not learning anything new about your users. We're not trying to steal all the users' private information, but instead we're just using it to try to handle the matching and attribution use cases while still maintaining a strict privacy standard.
Wonderful. Well, I thank you both. I don't see any additional questions. I will do a little wrap up here. So if you guys have any attendees have questions, then get them in now. I'm stalling for you. But I'd like to thank our panelists so much for joining. Thank you for your contributions in the working group, for helping get the standard to the place that it's at. And we look forward to everyone's feedback and seeing the implementations in the market. There were no additional questions, so we're good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us.